Hello there, welcome to yet another F2P-est free-to-play Dream Realm boss guide. So for today's F2P-est Dream Realm boss guide, we'll cover Croaker. Let's go into battle. I'll showcase my free-to-play team, the rationale behind it. So I'm running the Torrent frontliner with the 4 Mauler core as usual. So I don't think the Maulers in front, they need introduction. I don't think Torrent needs introduction. You need Torrent to counter Croaker's insta-Q. Right, you need Torrent to tank the insta-Q, at least take down 2 or 3 of the insta-Q based on the tiers of your Torrent. And then for the very last unit, I actually ran Elsa. So I specifically put Elsa in this position because my Elsa actually likes to roll into the boss. So putting Elsa, I'll say, towards the left or right side of the positioning itself will cause her to roll to the left or right side of the boss area. With this, we actually put her out of Smokey's AoE aroma, which is something which I don't want, because if she can stay in the aroma for as long as possible, she's gonna use her skills more, she's gonna do more damage, she's gonna cycle through the Star Shard spell that I'm running. So artifact of choice, Star Shard spell. So I'll be also talking about other possible team builds as a free-to-play player if you don't have the units in my team. So without further ado, I'm gonna showcase to you guys. So before you guys go, yo Zeeebo, you know there's a Reyna's a very good unit for Dream Realm bosses. I know, but like I mentioned, this is a free-to-play account, and since I went for Skalita in the place of Reyna, obviously I don't have a developed Reyna on this account. So I'm trying to build up the Reyna for this account, eventually using the Reyna to boost up the damage for my team in this account specifically. But for now, I'm just playing with whatever I have, right? That's the idea of this F2P-est Dream Realm boss guide. That is to play with what you have. How can you play around certain deficits? How can you play around the lack of certain units? What are the other alternatives you can use, even though you might not achieve the best result in terms of the meta scores, but you achieve the best results based on whatever collection you have. So that's the idea of this series. So if I'm gonna see comments like, oh, this guy's account's super stacked up, it's not free to play friendly, I'll say screw you, okay? Because this is a $0 account, this is free to play by all means. It's just time taken to build up the account, which I think you guys can definitely achieve it if you guys play the game long enough, if you guys can develop your account up like myself. So that is basically the explanation for this series itself. So I call it the F2P-est free to play because I'm just going to use my free-to-play account to showcase this idea and concept. Okay, so over here, my 2 Maulers died pretty early on, but I still managed to jam in about 520 million damage. So this is the damage distribution. Okay, so all these damage output I think needs no introduction. The reason why Elsa was delivering really good damage as well was because Elsa's ability actually synergized really well in terms of spamming her ultimate. So her combo ability, which is a seasonal skill, as well as her ability to spam ultimate, and when further buffed up by Smokey's aroma, she's gonna throw her ultimate really frequently, and that's where you will see her damage come up, right? That's where her damage number can match up to some of the, I'll say, like carry units that's available right now. But if let's say you have a Reyna, the best possible choice would be to replace Elsa with Reyna. Okay, for my case, because I don't have Reyna, so I put in Elsa for the factional bonus as well as her ability to jam in a little bit more damage. I think, let's say if you don't have the 4 Maulers, for example, like I mentioned, the carry of choice, let's say if you went for the light bearer route, could look something like this. Right, so you have this, and then you kind of want to throw in the Rowan. So this is to give you more cycling for your Star Shard spell, as well as a little bit of heal there. And then this is the other team that you guys can run if you really hated Mauler and you went for the other factional team builds itself. So I'm going to showcase this build to let you guys see the difference in terms of the damage. So I'm gonna put in I should probably put in, I don't think I need Torrent out, so I think Lucius will be alive for longer. So let's try this one. So let's say this is the team that I will use if I don't have the Maulers, right? I'm pretty sure there will be someone out there be like, I don't like to follow the meta, I don't like to follow the best team build, so I went for the light bearer, which is the weakest faction. Fair enough, right? So this is how I will deal with the boss. Basically, the idea of doing best damage in Dream Realm is to just use your strongest teams in general. So let's say if, for example, you have Wilders being the strongest, I'll suggest a possible Wilders team for Croaker. If you don't have Torrent specifically for Croaker, I cannot offer you a better substitute. There's a few ways you can play around the lack of Torrent, but if you have Torrent even at the lowest tier, you should always run Torrent for this boss, because the role of Torrent is to just eat up the insta Q from Koko. So even if your Torrent is very low in tier, like if you only have like what at him at legend, you can definitely still use him, right? So Torrent's role is not just a debuff. He's mainly there in this boss to take the insta-kill. So Torrent's a little bit hard to replace, whereas I think every other unit you sort of can find some sort of replacement. So as you guys can see, if let's say you run the light bearer comp, the damage output is a lot less, about 20% less compared to the Mauler faction, but that is to be expected because they are not the most optimal team. So as you guys can see over here, so Merrily still doing pretty decent damage, but because we don't have like some of the strongest support like Smokey as well as Koko, obviously the damage output will drop. So that's for the light bearer side of things. So let's say if you don't have a light bearer, right, but you have OD obviously, so what can you do with this kind of combination? If you have obviously Smokey, always put in Smokey. Then if you take a look at this team setup itself, if you take a look at my hero pool, I have a Reyna. I can obviously use Reyna at the low tier if I really wanted to, but let's say I pretend I don't have a Reyna. The other possible combi that you guys can run is obviously the Damien combi, right? So this is one unit, and then if depending on whether or not you want the fractional bonus, personally I will take the fractional bonus most of the time because 10% more attack is just going to increase your damage, right? So obviously if you cannot get 3-2 or you cannot get 4 unit fractional buff, you at least want the 3 buff. So if you take a look at this build itself, I have a few choice, right? I'm pretending that if I don't have Koko, what can I do, right? So I will use Damien. If I don't have Koko, then I'll use another Mauler damage dealer for that slot. Then if let's say I don't have the Mauler, right, I don't have this damage dealer like I mentioned earlier, then just throw in Merrily, for example. So this will also probably give you a decent damage number from there. So yeah, these are just some suggestions. If you are the really late game player in this game mode, actually Bryon's not bad, at least in the current version in seasonal Dream Realm boss, because this unit's ability from his seasonal buff is actually pretty insane. Crit plus haste when there's no enemies within the 2 tile radius. So this unit could actually be a very decent bosser moving forward, because with the addition of magic charms as well as higher level artifacts, so there are a few artifacts which I haven't unlocked yet. Right now for this account, the best is Starshot spell, but there's actually another one which synergizes really well with a mage based team, which is Crescent spell. So if you do run like a Wilders mage team, you can consider using Crescent spell for more damage as well. But most of the time, personally, I still find Starshot spell being the best, although in the later part, if you do unlock the evocation spell actually is a pretty darn good Dream Realm artifact so far. Like I've been testing it on my main account, so I've been testing it on my main account over here, as you guys can see. So for this thing, I think evocation spell is really good for Dream Realm purposes. So I'll be doing more testing, but personally for now, those are the few things that I will take note of. So before I end off today's video, right, I'm gonna just showcase like a possible Wilders team that you guys can use. So obviously we have Damien, right, we have Bryon, so I'm gonna shift up the levels of the units first. So Bryon being the main carry, we have Damien. Damien is a good damage dealer as well as a support. So you can use him for the heal, you can use him for the damage itself. So the other, if you're running the mage team, obviously you need Iron, right? Iron, if you have Iron at N+, this unit offers that little bit of magical defense down. And the very last slot, depending on who you have, I honestly don't recommend Arden. Like, Arden's not really good against bosses because his ability is 50% useless, right? His kit is very control centric, so if you cannot control the boss, you're not gonna do as well. So in this case, if let's say I don't have a choice, I will use Carolina, right? So if you are somebody who went this Iron Carolina core, this is actually still a possible solution, because if you take a look at Carolina, if you did get the EX weapon up, there's actually a magical defense down, so I'm going to scale up her level for more damage, right? And then let's start the battle from here. So this is another combination that you guys can use if you guys went for the meta team and you didn't focus too much for your Dream Realm boss as a free-to-play player. So I think this is pretty much it, right? I would say that for Dream Realm itself, this idea of this free-to-players guide, it's more like, okay, I'm a free-to-play player, I have limited resources, this is the team that I'm going to run for me to get the best damage. So if you're somebody who went for my ultra late game advisors, you went for all these late game unit, you went for Carol, you went for Iron, you went for Damien, and then your Dream Realm score is not as good, this is one team you can definitely use. Because in the seasonal Dream Realm itself, right, a lot of the units actually got really powerful seasonal skills. So testing things out as well as, you know, building your team differently based on your strongest pool of units is very, very flexible. Actually, that's something that I really appreciate for this seasonal Dream Realm, because it opened up a lot of possibility. And as you guys can see, even running a super suboptimal team that people often won't run for Dream Realm, I'm still doing 400 million damage, right? 400 million is still no joke. It's very close to the Merrily and Korean team just now, and this is without Smokey and Koko. I could obviously fit in a Smokey and Koko, maybe to get more damage from there, because these two units, right, if you have them, just run them in the Dream Realm boss itself. But if you don't have them, I'm showing you guys that there's another alternative, and as you guys can see, Bryon's a pretty darn good Dream Realm boss, at least within this new season itself. So that's it. This is the F2P-est free-to-play Dream Realm boss guide for Croaker specifically. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys!